Hello and welcome to the Watch Co channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. If this is your first time here to my YouTube channel, or even if you're a regular viewer, you're coming back for more videos, please don't forget to click the subscribe button. I really need all the support that I can get. In today's video review, we are going to look at this watch from Brew Watch Company. This is a new watch company. The company is based in New York, and they've got this very interesting chronograph called the Mastergraph. The Mastergraph is the latest model from Brew Watch Company, and I have with me today in the studio the copper dial version of the Mastergraph. Here you can see that it's got a lovely sunray dial in copper, and already is playing with the light. You can see the beautiful sunray, and we're going to see plenty of it throughout this video review. Bit of a background information on the Brew Watch Company. It is founded by this guy called Jonathan Ferrer, who actually is a professor of design in New York City. So the brand is heavily inspired or influenced by coffee. As you can see from the logo on the crown here, it is actually a coffee bean. If you can't see clearly here, I have it on the watch box, which I'll talk about in a while. So plenty of coffee inspired elements inside, hence the name Brew Watch Company. Let's run through some basic specs of the watch. The watch has a case diameter of 38mm from left to right. That's excluding the crowns and pushes. It's got a case thickness of 12.2mm. Lug width is 22mm. And finally, it's got a lug length top to bottom of 41.5mm. Now I say that because this watch has no lugs. One of those TV or cushion case designs where you have totally no lugs sticking out. The Mastergraph also has a full stainless steel construction, and it's got a aluminum bezel insert along with the slightly domed sapphire crystal. Powering the Brew Mastergraph is the Seiko-based VK68 movement. It is actually a hybrid meca-quartz movement. Now the VK68 movement is called a hybrid because it is essentially a quartz movement. It runs on a battery. You do need to replace the battery every 2 or 3 years, but the chronograph part of the watch, that is the chronograph timer and all that, they are mechanical, and when I depress the start of the chronograph function, you can see that the seconds hand is actually sweeping rather smoothly as opposed to ticking of a quartz movement. So apart from the fact that the chronograph functions smoothly as though it is a sweeping hands, the main reason to use this movement would be, of course, to save on cost. It is more affordable than a 7750 movement, and I think it actually makes the watch thinner than a mechanical chronograph. Now, as mentioned earlier, the use of the VK68 movement keeps the cost of the watch down. The retail price of the Brew Mastergraph is $375. Now, if the watch has a mechanical chronograph movement, I think it would easily cost 3 to 4 times more. So it is actually a very good idea to keep the cost down by using a meca-quartz movement. So here's a reenactment of the unboxing video I did a few days ago, just to show you how the Brew Mastergraph is sent, and it is packaged in a really secure, strong, rectangular cardboard box, outer box. So if you open this, you will see that the internals are very safely bubble wrapped, and then it reveals an inner box with all the information of the watch, such as stainless steel construction, the movement type, sapphire crystal, water resistance, and then you can tell that this packaging is done specifically for the model because it's got the word Mastergraph on it. So I really want to thank Jonathan for his generosity, because this being a loan set, he has actually sent the actual retail packaging that you will get with a new watch. So I'm just going to show it to you. It's got a inner drawer type of sleeve, and here you can see the paperwork, and here's a cleaning cloth, and of course you get to see the watch, the beautiful Mastergraph copper dial. So let's go on and talk about the design of the Brew Mastergraph. We start with the dial design, and as the name implies, the watch has a copper dial. It's got a copper dial as the base. Really nice sunray or sunburst copper, and it's got a 3 register that is done in brushed silver. So the first register here on the left, it is the minutes counter, and this one here on the right is a 24-hour counter. So if I were to disengage the crown or pull out the crown fully, if I were to turn, you can see that for every hour, the 24-hour register actually moves 1 notch. And here you can see that this is past noon because we are at 4 p.m. and the 24-hour counter says 16. And of course, at the 6 o'clock position here is the seconds counter. It ticks very accurately on each marker. I don't see a lot of misalignment, which is common with quartz watches. And of course, we need to talk about the smooth sweep of the chronograph hand, the chronograph counting hand. So it is not perfect. You can still see a bit of stuttering and a bit of ticking if you were to look at it closely. But then again, hey, this is actually a quartz movement. So in order to get the smooth sweeping movement, I would say that's quite a feat. And as we zoom in a little bit more, you can see that the dial has got applied markers. The hour markers are applied. It's got a Kit Kat bar, I think, and it's also got a dot. So it looks like a matchstick kind of applique, and I would say it's pretty interesting. Doesn't really mess up the dial. Still a very clean design. I really like it. Then the dial also has minimal text. It only has the Brew brand at the 12 o'clock position. Doesn't even have a logo. So no funny words like meca-quartz or quartz chronograph or 3i chronograph or something like that. And that is really clean design from Jonathan. Great stuff. So the Brew Mastergraph also has a rotating bezel, but it's got a non-cluttered version. That means that there are no small hash markers all over the aluminum bezel, but you will see from position or from 30 seconds to 35 seconds, you get small hash marks here. And I asked Jonathan about this. This is actually the perfect time to extract the espresso. So let's say if you were to wait for 30 to 35 seconds when the chronograph hands hits the markers, you will know that this is the time to extract the coffee. Wonderful. Alright, so yes, now we are ready to get the coffee. Now obviously this is no dive watch or sports watch, but the hands and the hour markers, the applied hour markers, they are all lume C3 Super Luminova. So we'll go into a lume shot later on in this video review. And now we look at the case design of the Brew Mastergraph. At one look, you know this is called the square or the cushion shaped watch. It's got a chronograph movement, so I would say there are very few watches that resembles this. Probably you will think of things like Tag Heuer, Monaco or Silverstone. They've got a square kind of a feel to it, and maybe some Bell & Ross watches, but this is on its own. It is not sporty. It is more towards the casual and dressy side of design. So the case is made of stainless steel, and it's got polish, high polish finish at the sides, and the top of the watch is brushed, but brushed in a very interesting manner. It is not brushed vertically or circular. It is from inside to outside. The brushing is done from the inside to the outside, and I would say it is done very well. And this being a brand new watch, the finish of the brushing is very good, really good. Nice to feel and touch. I'd say the quality is there. Now the designer of the watch is also very clever in making the watch slope outwards or slope downwards. Now you can see from the side profile that it is always sloping outwards. So this gives the watch a very low profile. Although the thickness from the base to the tip of the sapphire crystal is 12.2 millimeters, in reality it feels much lower due to the fact that the sides are, the tips of the watch, the corners of the watch, they are really thin. Now this is like way thinner than 10 millimeters, so you do feel that the watch is thinner than the actual specs. The crown and pushes are pretty decent. There is little or no play, but this is not a screw down crown, it's a push or sticker crown. It's a push-pull sticker crown, and I find it strange that it's got a go state position here. Right here you can see there's one notch for the date and one more for time setting. So the VK68 movement does have a date complication which is not used in the Mastergraph. The pusher action is also very good. There's very little slack, so it engages with a very crisp sound. Very nice feel to it. So pressing it again will stop the chronograph, and this is the reset button. So very nicely done, no slack or anything like that. And the case back is similarly brushed like the front of the case, but this time it is done horizontally. So it's a horizontal type of brushing. I'm sorry you can't really see it clearly because I've promised Jonathan not to remove the protective film. I think this is a brand new watch and I try to keep it as new as I can. The case back is held down by 4 screws, and this gives the watch a 50 meters water resistance. I thought we should take some time to look at those hidden lugs or non-lug construction of the watch, because this makes the watch wear smaller than what the actual size is, because you got a case diameter of 38 millimeters, but the length, the height of the watch, or the top to bottom length is only about 41.5 millimeters. This makes the watch very wearable, and I think most people would find this a very comfortable size. And of course we come to the highlight of the Brew Mastergraph in copper. Of course we are talking about the copper dial. It is really beautiful. The colorway is pretty unusual. You don't see a copper dial in many brands. I mean, most brands they have black, blue, maybe green for divers, but to have a copper or bronze style kind of colorway, I think is pretty rare. And this one, the sunray, is quite beautiful actually. I think that alone gives you a very good reason to buy the watch. Now, I didn't know that the bezel rotates just before I filmed this video review, and here you can see that there is actually a 120 click mechanism going on in this bezel. Here I feel that the bezel action really needs lots of improvement. Aside from the fact that the bezel action is not crisp, not too nice, it also has a bit of a play to it. Yes, I can even feel the bezel moving, and I really hope Jonathan and company would improve in this aspect. The Mastergraph comes stock on a black leather strap. It's a 22 millimeters lug width, and it tapers to 18 millimeters at buckle and at the end. It's a really nice leather strap, nothing overly premium, but I guess it does the job very well. Comes with a sign buckle as well, nicely brushed sign buckle. I really love such things. These are the details that you can really see, you can feel that the brand is trying to bring across. I really love the black inner lining as well. This is really suitable for our warm and humid weather here in sunny Singapore. And of course they've got quick release mechanism, which is more or less the norm for many brands these days. Get quick release for quick strap changes, and Brew has also got a very good selection of straps. I think this one will look quite good with a dark brown strap as well. So for today's size comparison, there is no question, this being a chronograph, we need to activate the good old Omega Speedmaster. So at first look, you will think that they're about the same size, mostly because the Mastergraph has got a squarish case. Squarish cases tend to look bigger than the round cases, but if you bring the watches closer to the camera, you will see that the Mastergraph is actually much smaller than the Omega. The Omega is 42 millimeters, and this one has a 38 millimeters case size. I think dial sizes are about the same, 31 or 32 millimeters. So here's a very good comparison shot. The Omega has got a lug to lug length of about 48 millimeters, and this one here, the Brew Mastergraph on my right, only 41.5 millimeters. You can imagine how easy it's going to wear on even a small wrist. So here's a comparison of case thickness between the two watches. One look and you can tell that the Brew Mastergraph is way thinner. It is about 12.2 millimeters. Although it's got a thicker mid case, the crystal doesn't pop out so much. and even the case back protrudes less than the omega on my left. And here's the wrist shot of the watch on my 6.8-inch wrist. That's about 17 centimeters for you. Very good size because of the fact that the watch has no lux. I'll do a wrist roll to show you. Strap is of a good length. Buckle sits right in the middle, more or less in the middle. And this is the fun part. There is no lug gap. There is no lug gap because there are no lugs. Wonderful, isn't it? Now it's time to see the lume shot of this watch. Let's switch off the lights now. Boom. Wow, this is actually quite good for a dress watch. Here you can see that there's a lume beep as well, and you can see the minute and hour hands as well as the markers nicely loomed. Great stuff. So coming back to the Brew Mastergraph, I would say one more look at the copper dial. It's just beautiful. The sunray effect on the finish, and even the brushed silver finish on the sub-dials really make the watch stand out. So just some points to ponder for fans of this watch or would-be buyers. Now, first you got to look at the bezel action. I think it really needs an improvement or upgrade. Then of course there's that argument about mechanical versus quartz versus hybrid versus meca-quartz. Now fans, watch fans, you have to understand that in order to keep the price to a certain price point, this is under US $400, the use of meca-quartz is actually a smart idea because it makes the watch look thinner. If you were to use a mechanical automatic chronograph, the watch will be at least 14 to 15 millimeters thick, so thereby making the watch less wearable. Here we are looking at 12.2, and that's just the top of the crystal to the base. The sides of the case are actually way under 10 millimeters, thereby it makes the watch very wearable. So I have nothing against the use of a Seiko meca-quartz movement. The only problem is the watch is competing against plenty of micro brands that are using the NH35 or NH38, and these watches are priced around the same level. They're about $300 to $400, so the Brew Mastergraph does have a bit of competition going on from micro brands who are using NH35 movement. So there you have it, the copper dial Brew Mastergraph from Brew Watch Company. A really sweet little chronograph from the brand. This brand is all about the coffee theme, from the hash marks on the rotate bezel to the brand itself, the logo, and the brand. Hey, it's called Brew Watch Company only because the brand is all about coffee. And if you're a fan of coffee, you're a coffee drinker, I'm sure you'll resonate with the brand. Now, despite all the little niggles such as the bezel issue or the fact that the watch has no mechanical movement, it uses a hybrid movement, I would say this watch is pretty special. It is something unusual. You get a chronograph, not the usual 2 hands or 3 hands type of watch. And for a chronograph, you really need to keep the price point down by using a hybrid meca-quartz movement. So if you found the video to be helpful, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Come back every week. I've got new videos uploaded just for you. Until next week, this is the Watch Kaki, and this boy here, this green boy here, his name is George. We are going to say goodbye now. Bye bye. So here's a tough one for the watch fans out there. Would you like to call the hashtag Brew Monday or Monday Brew? Woohoo! Wow, the lume is pretty nice. It's like matchsticks lit up at night. Wonderful. Why, Josh? What is it? You want a green watch? There are no green watches. You don't need a green watch.